Ajete Mawuwe, now 53 years, began his fishing career at the tender age of 7. However, he decided to retire from fishing about 10 years ago, putting away his boat and net for good.
After my father's passing at age 7, I was cared for by various people, which led me to learn fishing. I grew up in Kwame Krom and later Yeji, both places with strong winds and waves. In Yeji, the weather was particularly unpredictable, with sudden rainstorms. To survive, we had to act quickly, often abandoning our nets and flee into safety, hoping to return another day with the means to replace our lost gear.
Okay, Tafifia radio.
Ajete explains that the traditional weather forecasting methods they relied on were no longer effective due to shift in weather patterns. He shares challenges faced as a result, including close calls and difficult experiences on the water. However, things have improved significantly.
Although radio announcements warn of approaching rainstorms, many fisher folks like myself don't have access to radio sets or ignored the warnings, putting us at risk. However, the introduction of weather forecast has significantly reduced accidents on the lake, as those who do listen can take necessary precautions.
Okay.
I am Kofi Yamba from Dambai, and I've spent the last 30 years working on this lake. My fishing journey began when I was just 6 years old, learning from my father. Growing up, we didn't have access to radio sets, so our fathers relied on traditional methods to predict weather changes. Whenever they sensed a change in weather, we would promptly seek shelter in a nearby community to ensure our safety.
36-year-old Kofi Yamba and his fellow fishermen are no longer taking risk by relying on unpredictable weather conditions. They credit Ghana Meteorological Agency's weather forecast for providing more accurate and reliable information, allowing them to make informed decisions and stay safe on the water.
The weather forecast on the radio has been incredibly helpful to me. For instance, I recall a recent occasion when I was heading to the farm and heard a forecast on the radio warning of heavy rain. I promptly decided to return home, and sure enough, it rained. The timely warning allowed me to avoid getting caught in the downpour. Radio weather forecasts have saved us from water-related disasters. Staying informed with reliable weather information and acting on it can help you stay one step ahead of potential dangers and avoid being caught off guard.
Ebia nsuo bi betimi amuna mfroma nkwa na ebe nsuo na yede ento nti se wote information no na wodi so a mengi se accident beto se one day accident betimi aba.
In May 2023, a tragic incident occurred at Fana Wiaboma, an island community in the Gas South municipality of the Greater Accra region, when a canoe carrying school children returning from school capsized, resulting in the deaths of at least 9 children. The canoe was being paddled by a 12-year-old student who claimed he could navigate the river safely. In a separate incident in September 2023, 2 fishing canoes capsized while attempting to enter the Volta River, leaving crew members missing. It is less than 2 years since the last canoe accident in InDambai, but residents still remember the devastating loss of a woman's life. Although her child was rescued, Kofi shares his account of this heartbreaking event.
Andrew 2 years Quran accident to be crasiwa. Enokra yoba akwada kitua bi
It's been less than 2 years since the devastating cannon accident happened here, resulting in the tragic death of a woman while her 12-year-old child was fortunate enough to be rescued. I'm unsure if they were unaware of the weather forecast or not, but it's a sobering reminder of the importance of staying informed about weather conditions.
TV ahu say ana o maka say bia nsuo ebetimi ayem from ebetimi abo a o dia so de be kono de eno de the accident beba.
So my name is Israel Tosu, the morning show host of OT Radio, and we've been doing the weather forecast.
OTFM has been a trustworthy source of weather updates for the fishing community. The host of the morning show, Israel Tosu, emphasizes their commitment to keeping residents informed about weather changes, helping them stay prepared and safe in the face of unpredictable weather patterns.
We've been doing the weather forecast reporting every morning. We've been served by the Ghana Meteorological Services every morning 6 a.m. About the precipitation of the day, that's morning, afternoon, evening, and sometimes when there will be changes, they normally update us. It has been very helpful for our farmers and fisher folks. It helps them to know when to go to fishing or not. It also helps them when to go to farming and when to cultivate this and that, when there will be rain or there will be no rain. Sometimes when we fail to broadcast it or inform them, some of them even call the studio personally to request for the weather update. So I would say it has been very helpful and it helps them in their day-to-day activities. Because
before we are able to even come out with our predictions, we analyze a lot of data. We look at other models, weather charts pertaining to the marine space, and we use some of this data that are observed. Okay, they are not predicted, that are observed to we combine them with other let me say satellite data. These are ground data. We measure them with our machines that have been installed with other satellites observed data, and we assimilate them and we are able to come up with the models which aids in our forecasting.
Marine meteorologist at the Ghana Meteorological Agency, Thomas Barney, says their goal is to connect scientific knowledge with community needs, making a positive impact, one weather alert at a time.
After we have come up with analysis and we've developed the forecast, we send the products out. We have various institutions who serve as, let's say, the medium of communication to those who live along the coastline or also work within the marine space. For instance, when we issue the daily forecast, we issue them and we send them to the national body of the Canoe Owners and Fishing GS Association of Ghana. We have the national body, we disseminate the information to them, they take up the information, they also share it on their platforms. Ghana Maritime Authority receives our daily advisory. Ports and Harbors receives. Some of the media houses, or let me say the media outlets along the coast also receive our information. And every individual who works within the marine space can even use the USSD code *920*88#. You follow the prompts and you'll be able to have the information that day. We have a tall mailing list that's also received. So the various stakeholders receive the information.
By providing timely and accurate weather information, Thomas says they aim to empower communities to make informed decisions and stay safe in the face of changing weather conditions.
Because we issue out that forecast every day on daily basis. We issue it in the morning, in the afternoon, and also in the evening. We give them updates regularly because of the storms that usually give them problems when they are navigating.
As the demand for ocean resources and marine activities has increased, accurate marine weather forecasting has become crucial. The ocean provides a wealth of resources, including food, transportation, minerals, petroleum, and biodiversity. To harness these resources safely and responsibly, it is essential to have reliable information on ocean conditions and weather patterns at sea, preventing losses and ensuring the protection of lives and assets. Thomas says knowledge of wind patterns, sea currents, and other weather-related factors helps sailors determine the most efficient and safest routes for their journeys.
Yeah, it becomes safe to activities when tides are high. It becomes dangerous when the waves are also high. Because one, if the water levels are high and the waves are also high, the probability of us having a lot, let me say, very high waves, which will make the ocean surface bumpy, even as they navigate, is high. As I speak to you right now, we are having high waves in our waters. You know, locally, we have agreed thresholds that makes us say the sea surface is rough, is calm, or dangerous. Locally, when we are having significant wave heights and tides of, let's say, less than 1.5 meters, we say when we have significant wave height or wave height of, let's say, from 0 meters up to 1.4 meters, and tides of less than, let's say, 1.5 meters, we say, oh, the ocean sea, or we conclude per the agreement we have with our stakeholders, the ocean surface is calm. When we have wave heights of 1.5 to 2.4 meters, we say the ocean surface or the state of the sea is going to be rough. Beyond 2.4, the state of the sea is going to be dangerous.
A report by Mohammed Nuruddin.
Climate Focus is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging gaps for positive youth development, and the Climate Development Knowledge Network.
And that's the latest episode of our Climate Focus series. And in that story, fishermen in inDambai are now navigating the Oti River safely thanks to weather updates from the Ghana Meteorological Agency. And with 3-day forecasts and radio warnings, they can plan trips better and avoid boat accidents that once plagued the area. Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin brought us that today. Let's get on Zoom now and broaden the conversation a bit. My guest is Adom Marine, and she's a meteorologist at Ghana Meteorology Agency. Marine, thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's start by painting a picture of how rampant the accident was on the Oti River prior to the introduction of the 3-day forecast and radio warnings. Mr. Adom Marine, if you can hear me, and Mr. Adom is a meteorologist with Ghana Meteorology Agency to help us put this story in perspective. And I was asking him how rampant was the accident on the Oti River prior to the introduction of that 3-day forecast and radio warning that is saving the fishermen in inDambai. Are you with me, Mr. Marine? Remember that our Climate Focus series is brought to you by Youth Bridge Foundation and Climate and Development Knowledge Network. And in the story that we just showed you that we're trying to get more perspective on, it appears the 3-day forecast and radio warnings provided by the GMET is saving fishermen in inDambai. There were some incidents on the Oti River that plagued the community, but thanks to weather updates from the Ghana Meteorology Agency, they're able to plan their days ahead, and it's saving them a lot of stress. Adom Marine is back on the line with us, and he's a meteorologist with Ghana GMET. So I was asking you, Mr. Adom, how rampant was the accident on the Oti River prior to the introduction of the 3-day forecast and radio warnings?
Thank you very much. My name is Adom Dachi from Ghana Meteorological Agency, the Marine Unit. Before the introduction of inland water forecast, accident on the Oti River, mostly we don't single it to Oti River, we call it a water lake. You know, the water lake is a composition of about 17 rivers. But here is the case, you are singling it to Oti River, no problem. The accidents on the water lake were relatively common, though exact statistics may not be readily available. But the primary cause was weather. That's the unpredictable weather. The weather is becoming unpredictable. What are the days that fishermen were able to depend on their traditional knowledge for fishing? And because of the climate change, depend on your traditional knowledge for fishing, it becomes very difficult for them to navigate. And they were not having access to our forecast, and some of them too didn't understand it. And
okay. Adam, you have to speak up for me. Your voice is a bit faint, so I'm struggling to hear you.
Oh, sorry. Is it better now?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I said the weather was unpredictable for the fishermen.
Right.
They were depending on their local knowledge of fishing. That's the traditional knowledge that they learned from their parents in fishing. But because of the climate change, things are changing. They are no more working for them, the traditional knowledge. So they needed to have access to the scientific way or the change that the weather is depicting these days.
And so, have you tailored your weather forecast to be, apt for these various areas? I mean, how has GMET actually tailored its weather forecast specifically to benefit fishermen along the Oti River?
Yeah, the weather forecast, at first we were not having the inland water forecast. We were not having that. Later we added it because of the rampant nature of accidents happening or occurring over the water lake. We introduced the inland water forecast. It was brought by Ghana Maritime Authority. They came and saw us and discussed and started issuing the weather forecast for them. And that one's helping them to avoid accidents. It helped them to, we have made it localized or tailored-made forecast. We have divided the water lake into 3. We have the northern part, we have the middle part, and we have the southern part. And because it's tailored, we target them with respect to what is expected to happen in their region or in your sector. And it's also simplified language. We communicate to them in the language that they can understand. We have a connection with the liaison officers, their executives. So when we finish the forecast, we push it to them, and they further reduce it to a language that they can understand. In Ewe, in inDambai, in other languages, various languages that they can understand. We also use a simple language in the forecasting. We also use the sign, but impact-based weather forecast. The impact-based weather forecast for the marine, we have only 3 colors. The green one stands for low impact, and the yellow color stands for medium impact, and then the red stands for high impact. So no matter if you have not even read the forecast, the moment you see it, they can determine whether the impact is going to be medium or low or high.
Are you saying that you're using color codes to sort of decipher what the weather is for fishermen who are not technologically savvy to understand what the predictions are? Is that what you're saying?
We gave them training. We have trained them. At first, they were not having enough training or understanding in the weather education. At the introduction of the inland weather forecasting, we went around and trained them. Though we've not finished with all of the stations, but through their executives, we trained them for them to train the users or the fisher pools. And because of that, they understand it very well. And we don't also depend on only the color of those who use smartphones. Those who are not even using what we term as a jam phone can still get access. That's why you see one means green or calm. And if you see 2 means rough, and if you see 3 means dangerous.
Okay.
So we've not left those who are not using smartphone out.
All right. So looking forward, what improvements or additional services does GMET plan to introduce to further enhance safety for fishermen and other river users?
As of now, we have limited infrastructure for data collection. So in future, GMET is planning to expand its data collection because the ground-based or the ground-proof data help us to sharpen our forecast, and the forecast trust also increases. But if we have what actually happened on the ground, these are the microclimates for us to predict on point. And we're also trying to reduce the communication barriers. Many of our users do not understand the English and the jargon that we use in the forecasting. We are doing our best to introduce the local languages so that they can understand it. Any ordinary person who wishes to have access to the weather before going for fishing will get the understanding in the language that he was born with.
Mr. Adumdechi is Principal Meteorologist at GMET. Thank you so much. And I know that you're doing your best for the people in Dambai, which is what really the story is about.